You know, with my music and being on stage, you know, anything I do ministry-wise or music-wise, I really just want to share my story.
Life ain't always what I make it. There are things I
went to live with my grandparents when I was around 4. I do have some traumatic experiences, you know, being with my real parents. We were in Pensacola, Florida, up until, you know, I was 4. And my father, he worked, and he was able to function somewhat like a normal person. But my mother, she just struggled with, you know, supporting her addiction, and she wasn't, you know, really there for us. You know, I definitely remember that she wasn't there the way she should be, and we would just be by ourselves sometimes with nobody there. One time I came home and she had sold everything in the home, but I just remember being in the home and like everything I knew that was there before was gone. And in one day she had sold everything in the house, which was kind of unbelievable, but she did. So that was really their struggle. It's really just comes down to the drugs. I don't have any good memories of really being with them. It was always, you know, a lot of fighting or the drugs or, you know, the abuse. You know, at 4, my grandparents, of course, got full custody of me, but they actually had to drive in the middle of the night. It was 12 a.m. when my grandmother got the call to come get the kids, you know, or she was taking us to the police station. She, you know, knew that she couldn't support us. She couldn't take care of us. And because of, you know, the trauma you experience, you know, it really just like burns into your brain. Those certain types of memories just really stick with you.
You're the comforting love that's calling out to me. Oh, I don't need nothing.
Yeah, life with my grandparents was, you know, great. I mean, as far as I can remember, I mean, it was definitely a strict household. It was you know, a do as I say kind of thing, and I was definitely raised in a godly home. Me and my sister both. Her name was Sarah Elizabeth Sheridan. Not too long after being with my grandparents full time, she developed a rare form of brain cancer. I guess you just deal with it. You don't really know how, but and it is sort of a blur to me. But I just remember my sister kind of being well one day, and then my next memory is just of her being just very, very sick, and she was basically bedridden and put into a medically induced coma at around that same time. I vividly remember being on the porch swing outside where my grandparents still live today, and my uncle just like put his arm around me and he said, you know, Sarah is really, really, really sick, and she's not going to get better, and she's in her final days, and you know, all we can really do is love her. And but even then I remember, even though I was crying, I didn't really quite understand what he was talking about, but not too long after that she passed away.
And here's to my sister, God, how I miss her. Sometimes it feels like yesterday.
Even though I didn't realize it at the time, it shaped me into who I am today. At 14, I did make a commitment to Christ, just a little church down the road called Evans Creek Baptist that my grandparents still go to today. They really just portrayed heaven in such a way that really piqued my interest, and they also, you know, portrayed Jesus in a way that made me realize, wow, I really need this. It's a crucial part, you know, of my life. I need to accept Jesus, and I knew I wanted to do music. I just didn't think it was a viable option. A buddy of mine told me about, you know, the Army National Guard, and when I decided to join, I was only 17, so I had to get my grandparents to, you know, sign for me to say that it was okay for me to join. And right after I got out of advanced training, got received to my unit back in Louisiana, my National Guard unit, 205th Engineers. The sergeant who was with me at the time said, we're deploying soon to Kuwait. Kind of just got my plans shaken up a lot. I went there, and it turns out that there was a chapel on base. Luckily, you know, the 2 chaplains that were there were very accepting of me coming in and just revamping the worship team, and we got some really, really great talented players behind us. The musicians I've met in the military, I think people will be surprised how talented some people are. A full bird colonel, you know, just one step down from, you know, 1-star general. Somebody that powerful, you know, within the military, coming down and playing keys for you. And not only that, but I mean, I had several high-ranking people on the team with me, and just really to come together to, you know, support, the spiritual health of the soldiers coming in, which was so important. That was a big part of what the military was doing. We just really wanted to show the soldiers Christ, and one of the only places you could really find really, really great encouragement. So when I came home, a good friend of mine, he said, hey, let's cut a record together, which was the first time I'd really ever really written songs with the goal for, radio and whatnot as well. Once we got done with that, that's when I really saw, hey, maybe this is something I can for sure do. I would describe this new album of mine as very diverse musically. There's some very personal songs to me that are very singer-songwriter vibe, and I think it's really going to take people by surprise. They're going to hear, one of the acoustic songs, and then the next track is going to be something really, really upbeat and funky and fun, and the whole record is just going to kind of take you on this journey. So many people are coming from broken homes, and even adults, they're carrying that with them. It's really hard to reach people with the gospel. You can't really reach them where they're at if you can't really understand them, and you can't get to know their story. So by me telling them my story, they kind of feel like, hey, he understands where I'm at. Through that process, they can feel encouraged, start to heal. And if they don't know Christ as their Savior, it's definitely that huge stepping stone, receiving Him as Savior.
Yeah, He loves